This is my individual project for TEE 3020 with Steve Williams. My individual project was finishing this basement. We had to get a hold of contractors to do some sheetrocking, to do the duct work, I had to get with an engineer about this. This used to be a wall right here, and I met with an engineer and we came up with what we needed to do to put a beam so we can make this one big room so that we can have extra space for my wife and I to have our little baby, which is coming in less than a week, we hope. So within my individual project, as we mentioned, if you can see in these photos, right here was the start. That's what this room that I just showed you looked like, and now this is the finished. But I learned a lot from this project. The why is because my wife's having a baby. We're thrilled and we're needing more space. The knowledge that I gained from this was life skills of communicating with people and learning a budget and to organize and get people to work together and how we can manage everything. Plus, I learned a lot of technical skills. I did all the electrical myself. I did all the baseboards. I did the painting. I did all the framing. So I was able to learn a lot of skills that will help me in owning a home, just like I do now. I mean, it's a lot of fun and really good. So the life skills, the main ones that I learned are research, time management, leadership management, humility, and budgeting. And I'll break those down into each one here. So research. When you're working on a home, when you're adding onto your home or finishing your basement, you have a lot of regulations, you have a lot of codes. There's electrical codes, there's those type of things. And I mentioned the beam that I will show you. I met with an engineer to have that engineer to support our floor above us. Up above us we have a kitchen and a living room, and we didn't want that falling down, so we had to we took out that support wall and had to get a beam that had the strength to support it. And I added quotes and quality on here because when you're building a home or adding onto your home or finishing stuff like this, I highly recommend, well, because of the research I've done, I highly recommend getting many quotes from different contractors as you're doing everything, because you can save. In fact, the highest quote I hired the sheetrock done because it could save me a lot of time, and the highest quote from the lowest quote was $650 difference. So I was able to save $650 by getting multiple quotes from multiple different contractors to do my work. And quality is knowing who to trust as a contractor and to who would do a good job, who does it in a timely, efficient manner, and that type of thing. So just asking questions, talking to people, I learned a lot from doing that. I learned a lot on my time management because at this time, I mentioned my wife's having a baby, so we had a lot of doctor's appointments. I'm doing full-time school. I work full-time. I serve in church callings and community callings. I mean, I feel like I'm a busy person, and I had to work towards this in my spare time. I mentioned in my paper that I learned the difference between relaxing and wasting time. I mean, we all need to relax a little bit, but when you relax too much, you are wasting time. And that's what I learned on this project, because time was so limited that I had to make use of every minute that I had to be able to finish a big project like this in a decent time while still doing your other necessary tasks like going to work and doing your school and that type of thing. And I mentioned respect for others because everybody's busy, everybody has their own time, and this project ended up being more of a group project than I realized it was. I had to ask for a lot of help and from family and friends, and they all had their own things. I had to respect for their time. I tried to give them a few days to a week's notice ahead of time for when I needed their help. Leadership and management. There was multiple different times where we're planning and scheduling the contractors to come and my family to come and help me, and the training part was incredible. I had my brother-in-laws here helping me run electrical lines, and I run electrical and communication lines at work, so it's like almost second nature to me, and it just comes. To me it's common sense just how to run it, but my helpers had never done it before, so I had to step back for a minute, take a minute, and help them to know how to do it. And it gave me opportunities to teach and to train and to inform people and to lead them. Humility is asking for help and returning the favor. As you can see in this picture here, this beam, I think, weighed about 400 pounds, and I had more than enough help from all my family and friends, but there was no way that I was going to be able to lift that and mount it into place. We put the beams, and then there's steel columns that fit inside of our drywall, so you can't even see it in the drywall. But so there's plenty of jobs that you just can't do by yourself, no matter how hard I wanted to do it. It just wouldn't happen. And budgeting, I mentioned this earlier, but getting quotes and planning accordingly getting quotes saved me so much money. And sometimes it's a pain in the butt to make multiple phone calls to get quotes, but it's well worth it. The technical skills, safety in everything, it really is. Like for the sawing and the cutting, and there were times I didn't wear my safety glasses, and I thought, man, I wish I did, because I would get stuff stuck in my eyes. And so yeah, it's safety was number one. And then I learned how to frame. I hired out the HVAC, which is the heating and cooling, and the sheetrock I hired out, as well as the carpet. But I had to know how to frame around it and how to frame so that the ductwork, the contractors could work with it. So, and like I mentioned, I do electrical and communication wires for work, so I knew how to do that. Insulation and paint, fairly common sense too. The trim in the door it's a lot of hard work in making your angles fit and making it look good, because that's what people are going to see, and that's what you want to look good. So the framing, you can either, there's lots of different things, but this is the framing, and I mentioned begin with the end in mind. I could have left that support wall there and made 2 rooms here, but my wife and I discussed it, and we wanted to have a big family room that we could come down and hang out. We just thought we would enjoy it more in the long run than having 2 rooms. So when you're starting to do that, begin with the framing at the end in mind. Electrical is, you have to know your codes, and I run everything before you sheetrock, because I ran overkill, ran plenty of outlets, ran plenty of communication lines, but now I have whatever I want. So begin with the end in mind. Insulating, know your R factors. That's how much you want to actually insulate, keep warm. This we just doubled up to meet code. I didn't have to insulate it at all, because there was another layer of insulation between my studs and my cement foundation. I just doubled it up to help for sound and to keep it a little bit warmer during the winter. So this is the paint, and that's paint. If you haven't got to paint, you're missing out. I mean, it's just painting. So And the trim the doors, which I've mentioned before, if that's what people see, you want to make sure these angles are good, evened up, and look good. This is what it took us. I'm going to zoom in here. This is I estimated what it would take me and then how much it actually took me. I was able to save a lot of time by doing it, asking for help and having multiple people help me and hiring it out. And then this is what it costed us. So if you ever do a big projects like this, I'm just going to highly recommend hiring your drywall out. It was, after getting the quotes for the material and for paying somebody to do it, it was $400 difference for me to buy the material at contractor's cost and to just hire somebody. $400, but they were able to get it done in a week, whereas sheetrocking takes a lot of time. I've helped people in the past do sheetrocking, and I highly recommend contracting your sheetrocking out because you can save out so much time, unless you're a professional at it, which is awesome if you are. So that was my individual project. I learned a lot and had a lot of fun doing it. So thanks.